This week's blog post is the first of two parts on the Untermyer Gardens in Yonkers, New York. A brief word on the history of the garden. As a corporate lawyer, Samuel Untermyer, 1858 to 1940, was reportedly the first to earn $1 million fee. Eventually he moved on to drafting legislation. His legal fingerprints are all over the Federal Reserve Act, the Clayton Antitrust Act, and the Federal Trade Commission, as well as the Securities and Exchange Act passed under FDR. In 1899, when Untermyer was in his 40s, he bought a 99-room mansion in Yonkers that overlooked the Hudson River. Its gardens bloomed across 150 acres. They were designed by William Wells Bosworth, who had created the gardens at Kikuit, the nearby home of the Rockefellers. A small army of gardeners tended Greystone's 60 greenhouses, with thousands of orchids and millions of other flowers. From its walled garden, 1,000 steps descended, past gardens in a rainbow of colors, to a spectacular vista of the Hudson River. The only gardens that could compare to Greystone's in size and splendor were those at Biltmore, the North Carolina home of Cornelius Vanderbilt's grandson. One day a week, the fabulous gardens at Greystone were open to the public. On a bright October day in 1939, some 30,000 visitors crowded in to see a flower show. A few months later, Untermyer died, bequeathing his estate to the city of Yonkers. But, given the lingering effects of the Great Depression, Greystone was a luxury Yonkers couldn't afford. The house was razed in 1948. The gardens were left to go to seed and then sold off piecemeal. About 40 acres of the former gardens on the Untermyer estate are now managed by the Untermyer Gardens Conservancy, which is gradually restoring them to their former glory. I've given you a link in the blog post to a map of the gardens. The walled garden, which was one of the main features, boasted an amphitheater, 4 canals, a columned overlook, and sphinxes by Paul Manship. This is the exterior of the wall near the present entrance to the Untermyer Gardens. And this is a relief that's above the main entrance. It represents Artemis, and it's by Ulrich Ellerhusen, who is known for such architectural sculpture. In Persian, paradise means surrounded by a wall. So this garden is surrounded by walls, and inside it has canals running east-west and north-south, which cross at the center. They symbolize the 4 rivers of paradise. This one is the canal that leads from the main entrance gate, and this is the canal further in with lovely plantings on either side. Back here is the Temple of the Sky, which we'll see more of in a minute, and over here is the amphitheater and Paul Manship's sphinxes, which we will also see better in a moment. This is the crossing of the canals, the east, west, and north-south. Back here is the amphitheater and the sphinxes. And this is looking from the center back toward the main entrance with these enormous trees, which I believe symbolize something. I don't remember what. The canal that goes to the left from the entrance leads to the Temple of the Sky, which overlooks the Hudson River and has an elegant mosaic floor. These are details of the floor. As you can see, they still need to do some repairs here and here. This is another set of mosaics, this time the remains of the reflecting pool, the Persian pool, which is on the far side of the Temple of the Sky. You can see what things looked like before they came around and started fixing them up. And these are some of the exuberant plantings within the walled garden. This is Manship's pair of sphinxes, and this is the amphitheater, which is at the opposite end of the walled garden from the main gate. These are some of the mosaics inside the amphitheater. You can see they really last well. I mean, they must take a very long time to create, but they've gone uncovered in New York City winters for a century, and they're still there. And this is one of the corners of the wall and the tower, seen from inside the garden. Next week we will look at the stairs leading down to the Hudson River, toward the Hudson River, and the Temple of Love. By the way, Greystone used to have this sculpture in front of it, the Fountain of the 3 Dancing Maidens, which dates to around 1910. It was eventually moved to Central Park's Conservatory Garden, where it is now one of the centerpieces. DianeDuranteWriter.com has hundreds of posts on sculpture, painting, architecture, and my other obsessions. To join the free Sunday recommendations email list, visit the URL that's on the screen or email me. And you can say "Well done, Diane," or support my work and receive rewards by means of the tip jar on dianerentiwriter.com. As always, thank you for listening.